Hello and welcome to the final Tales of the Unseelie host. Oh yes, the final one.
It's a fucking intro. It's a fucking intro. I'm doing this temporarily until I get a new intro scene. It's a fucking intro. It's a fucking intro. It's a fucking intro. Now on to the main show.
Oh, what have I got for you for the last ever Tales of the Unseelie host? Oh, how about two tales instead of just the one? I think it'll be beneficial for you. So, tonight's tale is about the Merrows, or the Merrows. The Merrows, they're Scotland's mermaids. Not like the Selkies, which I've previously told you about, but the mermaids and the mermen that are told in other tales. Except that these, well, mermaids were benevolent. The mermen, not so much. The merrow females, the merrowmaids, they were supposed to be extremely beautiful. Top half human, bottom half fish. And like I say, there was chances of intermarriage even in Celtic tales between the Merrows and the mermaids and the men of the land. Although the Merrows always returned back to sea in the end. See, it's common that the Merrows would wear a red cap, and this cap allowed them to return to the sea. The cap does have a name, let me just look it up. It is called a Cuillin. And that enables them to dive into the waters and stay there. Now, if they were ever to lose that cap, the Cuillin, they would never return to the sea to live under the waters. And if you managed to grab it from a merrowmaid and hide it, she would stay with you, much like the Selkie, when you stole the Selkie's skin. Of course, if she also found it, she'd return to the sea, leaving her family behind. Any family that she had brought up. But there's also tales of the merrowmaids luring young men to the sea, where they drag them down and put them in an enchanted state and live with them. Yes, they're not evil merrowmaids, but the mermen, however. Well, the mermen, the merrowmen, they're not so nice. In fact, they were considered very, very ugly. And they were known to steal the souls of drowning sailors and keep them locked away in enchanted boxes for their own nefarious use. There's a tale that there once washed up a merrowmaid who was 165 feet long, who had hair that was about 18 feet in length. Her fingers were 7 feet long, and as was her nose. Well, she was white as a swan, but she was beautiful with it in proportion. So beware when you're out in the seas around Scotland. For you could hear this, if you hear the sweet, sweet song of the merrowmaids, they may be trying to lure you down to let you live happily with them under an enchantment, where you're probably a slave. But it's merrowmen that are catching you as you drown. They will keep you and use you or rather, your soul. I'm going to tell you a story about the Wulver. The Wulver hails from Shetland. It is a man's body with a wolf's head, and it's not aggressive if left alone. It's not a shapeshifter either, unlike most werewolves all over the rest of the world, and nor was it ever a human. It's an immortal spirit. Indeed, it was written about in Shetland that the Wulver was a creature like a man with a wolf's body, head, and he had short brown hair all over him. His home was a cave dug out of a howe, a steep howe at that, halfway up the hill. He didn't molest folk unless folk molested him, and he was fond of fishing, and indeed there's a wee rock in a deep water which is known to this day as the Wulver Stane. There on the Wulver Stane he would sit fishing silks and pillocks for hours and hours on end. He was reported to have frequently left a few fish on the windowsill of some poor laddie or lassie that needed it. That is the end of the story of the Wulver, and indeed the end of this series of the Tales of the Unseelie Host. We may do another one, you never know when. Farewell for now.